Welcome to the Compliance Network podcast, your compliance community. Since 2014, we've been helping financial services companies understand and follow the rules that govern the industry. Whether you're nearby or across the globe, we're here for you. Let's jump into the latest trends, tips, and updates in the ever-evolving world of regulatory compliance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Rowe. Kevin, good to see you, brother.
Hey, Jeremy, great to be back on here with you. How's everything?
Yeah, man. It's good. Let's get into it. So the topic of discussion today is going to be FINRA. So
yes,
why don't we start with basics here, right? For those that are unfamiliar with FINRA, can you explain its role in protecting investors and regulating the securities industry?
Absolutely. So we'll just start at the beginning here. FINRA stands for Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. It's an independent, not-for-profit organization authorized by Congress. And so their job, according to Congress, is for them to oversee broker-dealers and other securities professionals. FINRA sets the rules and the standards of conduct for securities professionals, like your broker, for anyone who works at a firm or has an account. For example, Interactive Brokers is a well-known broker-dealer, and so they would be subject to the regulations of FINRA, as well as anyone who sells securities or strategies or any ideas on their side. They would also have to be registered with FINRA. So essentially, after FINRA sets the rules of conduct here, essentially they enforce these rules by conducting audits on their members, broker-dealers, and then also their ultimate goal in all of this, in their creation, was to maintain market integrity and protect investors from misconduct.
Okay. What are some of the biggest risks that you're finding investors are facing today, and how does FINRA help to mitigate? I know you said they do audits and things like that. I want to dig in a little bit deeper as to how FINRA helps with that today for investors, the risks that they're facing. Sure,
absolutely. So main risk, market volatility, right? Like, so if the market goes up or down, someone's going to be on the winning side or the, if you will, losing side. And so, but the main thing here is the volatility, because whether you're a winner or a gainer, you're going to either win really fast or lose really fast. And obviously, losing really fast is a concern for any investor. And so the market volatility, as well as complex products. As you can imagine, as technology gets more sophisticated, you talk about even before artificial intelligence, the real deal here is that there's a lot of smart guys out there who can, and professionals, women as well, that can develop products, but they're very complex. So they may not be suitable, which is a key word there, for someone who doesn't have a real deep investment knowledge or knowledge of how products or the markets work. So that's a huge risk. The flip side, if you've been an institutional investor or if you've traded a lot on your own, then maybe the products aren't too complex for you. And then the last thing is obviously fraud. Telling someone that a product's going to perform a certain way. And, I think there's a few famous cases out there. The most famous of all gives it its name, which is Ponzi. Ponzi scheme is a type of fraud. But we see frauds in all parts of our life now, right? Even on our cell phones. If you carry a cell phone, you now are subject to money grab opportunities by thieves and fraudsters. So you have to remain diligent, not only in your investment account, but in all aspects of your daily life.
Yeah, it's getting pretty hairy out there with everything that's going on. I mean, some of the
technology.
Some of the stuff that's coming out with AI. It's crazy now.
Definitely.
The next question I have, it should seem obvious, but I gotta ask, right? Why is it important for investors to research their financial professionals before working with them? Because I think, like you just said, there's a lot of fraud out there, but there's also, I'd imagine there's quite a bit of just like not good knowledge in the industry, like actually people that have good intentions on the regular, like on the financial and the investor side, on the guidance side, and
Right.
they have good intentions, they just don't have the right information or give bad advice or think it's like, how does FINRA help with that specifically, and why is it obviously important for investors to do this research before they get into this?
Absolutely. So what I'll do is, before I talk about the tools that FINRA offers, I'll just give you if I can, a comparison view, right? Like, so if you're going to go buy a car, you're going to Google it, you're going to look it up, you're going to see what types of either miles per gallon or miles per charge, what size tires you might be looking to replace in the future will impact your future budget. So you're going to do your homework. And sometimes the name on a car might be shiny and nice enough that you skip all of your homework and go straight into the showroom and buy it sight unseen. I don't know many that have done that. I'm sure there are a few, just as there are probably a lot more people doing that with their investment advisor when it's such an important decision. So what FINRA offers to check the status of your broker, because, you would think that if you are a broker that you have the credentials, obviously you pass the examination requirements. But the real thing is you can't really see someone's character from a examination or a test or a certification. In this case, if someone, we were talking about before, the different enforcement arms of FINRA with the audit and the different types of reviews that they conduct, not only on the broker firm, but on the employees or registered reps of the firm, that information gets tracked and it gets logged, and FINRA makes that information publicly available on its website, finra.org. And you can also Google, and Jeremy, maybe we can put it up on the screen here, for FINRA BrokerCheck. We can provide the link for that so that our audience can go in and check out their advisor. It allows for you to search not only by the brokerage firm, but also by registered representatives. It gives you an opportunity to do that. And so you say, Kevin, well, all that information's there. What do I need? What am I looking for? Well, very simple. You're looking to see if there's any disciplinary action, any accusations or customer complaints about the broker, the frequency of those items, because typically indications of the past are, while not indicators of future performance, it should definitely be weighed in your decision on how much of your investment or any investment at all that you place with someone who maybe have some disciplinary actions on their FINRA record.
Yeah, we'll drop a link in the description to that resource.
Awesome.
So folks can check that out. So yeah, okay. So you're looking to potentially work with an investor. Maybe it was a referral. Maybe you saw an ad that they did, whatever it was. The first place to start would be, okay, let me go over to BrokerCheck on FINRA, run the guy's name, license, just verify, make sure there's no red flags or things that are out of the ordinary before you even go about starting to have a conversation with that person about working together. And then from there, you could kind of gauge their character and see if it's somebody that you resonate with. I got that right?
Absolutely. And keep in mind that your broker is required to give you information about the firm, and it's called Form CRS. So at the earliest of your account opening or conversations about your account opening, you are to be delivered a Form CRS, which is short for Customer Relationship Summary. And the Customer Relationship Summary provides important overviews. This form is rather new. It comes from the release of Regulation Best Interests, which is a rule that says that brokers and broker dealers must act in the best interest of their client, even if it doesn't give them the most favorable financial gain. So wouldn't
that be synonymous with the term fiduciary?
No. It would not be. It's similar, very similar. I think it's almost borderlining semantics here, but fiduciary takes it one step further. That's typically the obligation of an investment advisor.
Okay, got it. Okay.
It's very similar in the sense that in working in your best interests, your broker, if he's coming or she's coming to you with a solicitation or proposing that you open up a certain type of brokerage account, whether cash or margin, or if they're coming to you to purchase a particular security, the rule says that they should present you with that information about that security, but they should also tell you about some of the bad sides of that security, as well as give you alternatives that maybe don't give you as much risk.
Back up for 1 second. You mentioned
Sure.
the client, the CRS, the form. Is that,
Yes.
I don't know if I missed it or if it wasn't clear. Is that form, is that something that's available through the FINRA site, or is that something that you send over? Like if you're thinking about working with someone, you send over the form to complete that?
Yeah, twofold. One is that before you go and work with the broker, you definitely can find the form CRS on BrokerCheck. It's listed if you pull up the name of the broker dealer. So not Joe Smith in this case, but let's say he works for ABC broker dealer, then you would look up ABC broker dealer, and you would be able to view relationship summary, which is a tab inside of the results for BrokerCheck. So the main deal here, though, is that in addition to checking it or seeing it ahead on BrokerCheck, twofold, you're supposed to receive a copy if you're a retail investor like you and I. You need to receive a copy at the earliest of the time that you establish the account or have the first conversation about the account or investment.
So there's often confusion, at least in my mind, between an investment advisor and a broker dealer. Can you kind of explain the differences between these in terms of, I guess, responsibility to clients?
Yes. So typically, I think the easiest way to kind of explain it is that, with a investment advisor, they may take into consideration, or they're supposed to take in consideration, your entire financial picture, your tax, your inheritance, your I guess it's called life planning, your financial planning. So typically they're looking at a more holistic approach to providing you a strategy for your investments, in how it mixes with all of the other aspects that go into a solid financial plan. Typically, it's ongoing financial planning and advisory services. And then they also, again, like I mentioned, they focus on long-term strategies aligned with a client's risk profile as well as their goals. Now, see, broker dealers and registered representatives on the flip side, they facilitate securities transactions, buying and selling securities investments. Some may offer types of advisory service, but often more than not, it's more transactional based. So if I have, what we call disposable funds or disposable income that I want to put towards investing, then it's a set amount or it's a set dollar amount. And it may be looking, I may have a long-term plan with it, but I just want to own, let's say, some stock, pick a company, any company. I want to own that stock. So I'm going to open up a brokerage account at a broker dealer to buy those shares, for example.
What are the differences in how these two distinctions, right, investment advisors and broker dealers, are regulated in the industry?
Wow. That's a really complex one, but it's very similar. So typically what happens is that FINRA examines the broker dealers with oversight from the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Securities and Exchange Commission in turn could also audit broker dealers. Typically, investment advisors are either registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission if they have 100 million in assets under management, or they may be registered with individual states based on them having less than 100 million. And the state of registration would be determined by the number of customers that you have in each state, as well as if you have any offices in those states. So it gets into a maze. However, the programs are very similar in the sense that there are rules that are codified, and each entity is required to have policies and procedures to adhere to the different rule sets that are applicable to each profession.
I want to go back to fiduciary for a second. This is something that
Sure.
I recently experienced. I was running with a buddy of mine. We were talking about investing, and I was talking about who I work with, my wealth management team, and he asked, "Oh, are they a fiduciary?" And I didn't have the answer, and then he started explaining it to me. They ultimately were. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the distinction between like the fiduciary standard versus the suitability or best interest standard, and it kind of explained what that means in terms of like practical terms for investors. Can you kind of dig into that?
Yeah, that's going to get us into the weeds. So I'm going to try to say kind of really high level here.
Okay.
It's a great question. I think the key takeaway for our listeners here is understand that either in a fiduciary format or in a regulation best interest or suitability standpoint, there are legal obligations in both that requires the investment professional to do what's in your best interest. And I know fiduciary and best interest, or best interest, is a part of the rule, but I think that that's what typically aligns. And so there's legal obligations and protections legally for investors, so that there's specific standards, disclosures, and compensation structures. For example, investment advisors, they use, if you wanted to look up an investment advisor, maybe they're not a broker, and so it wouldn't be on FINRA, you would go to advisor info at the SEC, and what that'll do is allow for you to pull up information about your investment advisor and talking about how they manage their practice, how they charge. That's going to be Form ADV. And so Form ADV, obviously it's telling us it's Form Advisor, right? And so that form is telling us how this advisor operates, similar to FINRA BrokerCheck. However, a little bit more intense in terms of a narrative. So there's 2 parts or 3 parts to the ADV. One of those parts are similar with FINRA, which is Form CRS that we talked about, Customer Relationship Summary. But then they're required to have ADV Part 1, which talks about the current management information about the advisor. And then ADV Part 2A, which speaks to a narrative. It tells you a story about your advisor, how they, manage the portfolios, what the investment portfolios attempt to do, how much in fees they charge you for this, the frequency of fees. So it's really good information. All information, again, similar to Form CRS on the broker dealer, Form ADV and Form CRS must be sent to you by your investment advisor at the time of the account opening, and then annually on ADV by April 15th every year.
Yeah, I could see how important it is to have somebody, a financial advisor or broker dealer, somebody that does truly have your best interest at heart, because it's a fine line to skirt. You could see a scenario, because human nature is to look out for your self-interest. You can see a scenario where there's like 2 products to offer a client, and like you get a better return from your end on one of them, and maybe one's a little better than the other, and it's like, which one should I recommend? You really want to have somebody that can sit down and explain everything to you in a way that is in your best interest and not their best interest. And I could see how that could be a difficult line to work when you're dealing with this
stuff. Absolutely. It's a constant tug of war, if you will, only because the client is obviously what's important to any business, right? Without clients, you don't have revenue. And so it's very important that, client or broker dealers and investment advisors, are fair with their clients. And that's what the rules, and as well as transparent. So those are the goals of these rules. I would say one big thing to take away, whether you're going to choose to work with an investment advisor or a broker dealer, kind of finding what's the right match for you. Investors should consider the level of ongoing advice that you may need or want for your portfolio. The preferred compensation approach. Do you want to pay a monthly, quarterly, or annual management fee in addition to maybe some commissions with the brokers? Or do you just want to pay a straight commission flat fee on brokers for more of a transaction-based support? One thing with the investment advisor is continuous fiduciary duty.
I want to dig into
their duty's ongoing. Yeah, just really quickly. I want to make that because I think that's important. Is that best interest applies to your account setup, like whether you choose cash or margin. And then it'll apply to any investments that are solicited by your broker in the account. So that's kind of how those frames are set, right? So it's typically limited to the account opening itself, what type of account, but then it's also going to be on each transaction. Whereas on the fiduciary side, with the investment advisor, they have an ongoing obligation to continuously review your financial goals and objectives, and to consider any changes along the way. So that's maybe one of the things that will help our listeners understand kind of the differences there.
Yeah, I know for me, whenever I'm dealing with this stuff, because it could be very confusing, I want to work with a professional in terms of how they're billing me. Like, obviously they're going to explain it on the front end, but I don't want to ever have to go back and question that later. I want to feel comfortable with that process. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into, because there's some confusion in my mind about how investment advisors and broker dealers typically charge for the services, and what specifically investors should watch out for. So like for somebody like me, you start the initial relationship, they go over their fees, and several years goes by and your investment portfolio grows and then you start seeing fees increase. It could be very confusing. Obviously you could have that conversation with them. Typically, what should investors look out for? Are there any pros or cons to both? I want to go into that a little bit further in terms of how they bill.
Sure. So again, the billing has to be laid out, right? Like, so you're going to see Fed's fee schedules, whether it's a broker dealer or an investment advisor. For the investment advisor, like I mentioned, they're going to charge you some type of management fee. That management fee may be quarterly, it could be monthly, it could be an annual fee. So it's very important to read the investment advisory contract that you're signing, because that's where that information is going to be presented to you, and that'll help you understand the fees. Fees are also explained in the ADV for investment advisors, as well as in Form CRS. It talks about the conflicts. So investment advisors are sometimes also brokers, registered reps of a broker dealer. So as you can imagine, that's a huge conflict of interest. Why? Because I'm choosing your investment mix, if you will, your investment path as your advisor, but I'm also being compensated for the trades that are being executed at the broker dealer potentially. So in that particular scenario, it's important to understand that your broker is going to make money on both sides. Your advisor is going to make money as an advisor, as well as make money as a broker. So this is where using a combination of the tools, and why these tools matter, because you wouldn't know that. Maybe someone's going to introduce themselves. I'm an investment professional. And maybe they don't want to take you into the weeds right away in explaining these things, but eventually they will, because they have to provide you the documents. On the broker dealer side, some things to be aware of are kind of complex transactions. What am I paying for? How volatile is that? How much is the fee? Typically, if it's a complex product, the fee may be a little higher. The compensation or the commission may be a little bit higher. Why? Because it took a lot to actually build the investment, and the firm may need to locate the investment for you. So that may charge you higher in commission. So I would say typically on the broker dealer side, you're going to be paying some type of commission, whether it's, and I think now in the US, there's a lot of firms that don't charge commission. I think Robinhood, those guys, they don't charge commission. So if there's no commission being charged, then you want to look out for maybe different types of regulation fees will be there. That's a part of it. The regulation, the government has fees on your transaction. And then there's also going to be potentially trailer fees on mutual funds. So if I buy a mutual fund, you may continue to collect a trail for as long as I'm invested in that mutual fund. So it may be in my best interest as a broker, not you as a client, to put more people in that fund, because it's sort of like I forgot the appliance, but it's set it and forget it, right? Like, you're not managing the portfolio. It's done by a team of professionals. So you just want to be aware of how these products pay.
Yeah. I could see a scenario where I had something in my mind. It's going to come to me. Let me move past that. I want to take this back to the top before we wrap up here. What are some simple steps? Obviously, there's the tool with BrokerCheck. In addition to that, what are some simple steps that investors can take today to ensure they're working with trustworthy financial professional?
Definitely. Definitely use the resources and tools that FINRA makes available in the SEC as well. That is a huge part of FINRA's mission. Having the privilege to have worked as a part of a FINRA district, getting the information in the right hands. So, if someone's talking to you about brokerage or stocks or whatever, and you say, "Oh, who do you trade with?" Pull them up online. I know they may be a good friend of yours, or even a, not so good friend of yours. So I would definitely pull up whoever's being recommended. That's number one. Understand the types of accounts available to you if you don't already. The difference between retirement style accounts versus individual accounts where you're trading individual securities versus maybe mutual fund investing. Find your niche. Understand how much risk you're willing to take. I think that's probably the one of the first two steps that you want to do. Obviously, one, have the funds that you can afford to lose, and it's hard to say that. But investing isn't something you should be doing with your mortgage money. It should be with what we would say disposable, if you will, income or disposable assets that you would like to invest to generate additional income, wealth. There's different investment strategies that can address, ultimately what your goals are. So outside of the free resources, understand who you are as an investor, who you are as a person, what type of value you put on the funds that you're going to be investing with, what cost they came with, and understanding that, there's going to be swings in markets because of market volatility. But most importantly is that it's not a real loss until you close it out on paper.
So what should someone do if they suspect that they have been misled by a broker dealer or a financial advisor, and they have a complaint about that person? Like where do they go to do that? What's the best course of action for somebody that's dealing with that situation?
I would always encourage everyone to start with your broker. Start with your broker. If it's not going anywhere with your broker, then you can use BrokerCheck or the SEC website. It provides you with contact information to the firm, and you may also have a relationship, a call center. Really depends on where your account is, but filing a customer complaint with the firm. Be sure to have your documents in order, any emails, any conversations. I hate to throw it in here, but it's important. Most brokers are only allowed to text message if the firm is able to record those text messages into their books and records. So, if you deleted text messages and the firm doesn't record them, which is a rule violation that FINRA and the SEC looks for, you may lose all evidence. So definitely save all of your records, create yourself a file, and then obviously submit the complaint. If you don't get any response from them, or if you choose, you can go directly to FINRA's website, and it talks about the dispute resolution process there.
Yeah, man. All the more reason to develop a really, really solid relationship with whoever's doing your financial advising. I think one of the things I could recommend that made me more comfortable whenever I invest, it's like, don't go all in at once, right? If you meet with a financial advisor, you decide you want to work with them, ease into that process and invest a smaller portion up front, and then see how that process goes moving forward. And then as you become more comfortable with their process and you feel that they have your best interest in mind, then you can start investing more. And through that process, you develop more trust and credibility, and just, peace of mind. Right.
Absolutely. And I would also say check references. If the investment professionals work with someone that or someone that knows someone within so many degrees of separation, speak with them. But then, don't just look for how much money did he make you, or how much money did she earn you, or, you went from this to that. Look at, hey, what were your pain points? How's the communication? How long does it take for them to respond to your inquiry? All things that matter when you're in a pinch and you need it to matter.
Yeah. So lastly, before we wrap this up, what's on the horizon? Any upcoming changes in regulation? We're here, we're approaching, we're already in March. So what is that? We're into Q2 already. The year is flying
just
by.
Just about. Yeah.
What's going on? Any new changes in 2025 in regulation that investors should be aware of?
There's going to be plenty. So many.
There are always moving
lots
parts,
of
right?
always moving parts. Lots of new requirements for investment advisors and brokers. I would say that from the compliance network standpoint, we're excited to take our Form CRS and BrokerCheck and 80 advisor search to the public. We're here based in South Florida. What's been really new is at the middle or the end of last year, the state of Florida allowed for high school athletes to be compensated through name, image, and likeness. And so having a 18-year-old son that was a part of that environment, it really lends itself, because if you can imagine, we have some of the best, let me just say, high school football players, but athletes in the country here in South Florida. And so, we're on the road taking our message out to local sporting events with some of our own NIL folks, just to pass the word along about BrokerCheck and investment advisor search. And the different tools that FINRA offers, because these young men are going to be approached with opportunities based on the gifts that they're demonstrating on the field. So we want to make sure that their families know that this information is available. And this is sort of like my championing cause here. I really think it's important. It's a great tool, and we want to expand it into many communities as possible. The real thing that matters here is, your future and securing your future, because whatever it is, you've worked at it and you've earned it. And so you want to make sure it's there for you and future generations.
Yes, absolutely. Out there raising awareness, fighting the good fight, doing the good work out there. All right, Kevin, we will leave it at that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you have any personal anecdotal stories about your experience in this space, leave it in the comments. Let us know what's on your mind. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch everyone next time on the next episode of the Compliance Network Podcast. Everyone take care. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Compliance Network Podcast. We hope you found today's episode valuable. Until next time, you may find our community on social media at compliance.network. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook for more insights and observations.